Welcome, everyone. This is Recovery Dharma. My name is Julia. I'm one of the facilitators in the Spokane Sangha, and I would like to share with you a sentiment of loving kindness. This one reads, "May I remember that to be alive is to breathe the miraculous. May I remember that to be alive is to breathe the miraculous." Every once in a while, I listen to a podcast by Brian Cox, who's a cosmologist. And one of the things that really humbles me is the recognition that if the earth were just tilted ever so slightly away from the earth in one direction or the other, life as we know it would be very, very different. If the earth were just slightly closer to the sun or farther away from the sun, life on earth would be very, very different. So the precision of the earth's placement relevant to the sun has created this evolutionary miracle where you and I can be here in the blink of a window of, on average, 77 years to experience this consciousness, this capacity to witness the universe and each of us as manifestations of that universe. It's amazing. One may even say miraculous. So to be alive is to breathe this miracle. That's the motivation of that sentiment. Let's take a moment and breathe the miracle of life, of you, as this universal manifestation bearing witness. Friends, for the month of August, we are going to explore one of the aspects of the Noble Eightfold Path, wise speech. On Wednesdays, we've been exploring the work of Shantideva, specifically the Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, and we are finishing up this great work. And we're actually in the last chapter, which is all about the dedication of merit. It's all about thinking and remembering that we are practicing not only for ourselves to awaken to the conditions of our own misery, as well as awakening to the conditions of our own healing, but to share it, to awaken so fully, to have awareness that is impeccable enough that the way we live our lives can be a source of inspiration for others. That's how we share it. And today, I'd like to bring forward a couple of verses from chapter 10, the dedication of merit. And one of them is very famous. And it's often read as the dedication of merit in various Dharma talks. And so in some ways it signifies the end, but in the actual Guide to the Bodhisattva's Way of Life, this is not the end. There's more to this story. So I'm going to read that very famous verse and what comes after it. And then what I'd like to do is guide our practice in a very practical way, bringing forward the meditative practice of Tonglen. And if you're not familiar with it, I will explain it. But for now, I'd like you to put the body, your body, in a posture to receive this ancient wisdom from Shantideva. It is a call to each of us to live aligned with our highest aspiration so that we can put the most good in the world with the life we have. And the life we have up to this point is precise. We've had to go through everything that we went through to get to this moment. And this moment can wake us up and shift our course so that we devote ourselves to stepping on the earth as if we are planting a kiss of peace and compassion and ease with every single step. These are the words of Shantideva. For as long as space exists, and for as long as living beings remain in suffering, may I abide among them to dispel all their suffering. May all the suffering of all living beings ripen solely upon me, and by the power of the Bodhisattva's virtue and aspirations, may all beings experience happiness. Shantideva is encouraging each of us, and I'll just put this into the first person for me. When I read that, Shantideva is encouraging me to use my awareness of the conditions of my own misery as a threshold to see the conditions as they ripen in me are so similar to everyone else. The details may differ, the situation may differ, but the misery is similar. And so through my own awareness and through my own ease and healing, I'm going to devote myself to bring ease and healing to others. I have an inner critic that says, Julia, who are you to do this? And I also have a sage within as well who says, Julia, who are you not to do this? And I, noticing these two conflicting voices, just sit back and I practice. Today, the concept that I'd like to bring forward is unskillful speech that hurts someone's feelings. And I'd like to invite all of us to contemplate a time when we have been on the receiving end of our feelings being hurt by someone's unskillful speech, unwise speech, mean speech, intentionally harmful speech, however it is delivered. the result of, wow, that hurt my feelings happened. And I don't know about you, but sometimes it sort of depends on the situation. But sometimes I ignore my own experience of the hurt feelings and I jump the wall. I jump the boundary between me and this other person, and I'm all in their space trying to figure out why they said what they said to me, as if that's my job, as if that's my responsibility, as if that's something I can actually do. And it's a monumental waste of time. And so I have learned how to get back into my space and just look at my feelings and to make sure that I'm not reacting unskillfully. I'm not impulsively jumping the wall, getting into else's space, trying to fix them, trying to placate them, trying to rationalize the experience. I am just going to sit and be in my space with the reality of, ouch, that hurt. And I'm suffering. I'm not suffering in terms of agony, but I'm uncomfortable. And it stirs up those feelings of distress. It stirs up that adolescent in me that wants to be vengeful and vindictive. It stirs up confusion. It stirs up avoidance. It stirs up all of that unpleasantness within me. One of the things that we learn in a Buddhist practice is something called karma ripening. And it's actually a really neutral experience. Doesn't always feel that way, even though it is. Karma is action. So when I experience on the receiving action of being hurt, I know that my karma is ripening, having been someone who used unskillful speech and caused hurt in someone else. Now I know exactly how they feel. That person, through my action, felt confused, felt vindictive, felt pain, felt discomfort, distortion, just like me. So when I'm on the receiving end of things, it's a very humbling experience to entertain. Oh, this is karma ripening. And I can use this experience to check myself and to make sure that I don't react in the same way because it hurts. I don't want to use unskillful speech if it's going to hurt someone because I'm feeling the hurt right now. And yuck, it's awful. So, this reflection and this practice of being aware, wow, I just received this unskillful speech. I don't feel good about it. Woo, karma ripening. I've done this just like me. Okay, kind of neutralizes it a little bit. Doesn't make any excuses for anyone else. It's just a recognition that I can neutralize this a little bit and I can look at it and I can heal myself and activate my resilience. And then I can do as a bodhisattva does. And I can recognize that someone somewhere in the world is receiving harm due to someone else's unskillful speech. And someone somewhere in the world is inflicting harm as a result of unwise, unskillful speech. Breathing in that awareness and breathing out clarity, ease, healing, peace. Breathing in, I have experienced harm due to unskillful speech. Breathing out, ease to myself and to anyone else in this situation. Breathing in, I have been impatient, impulsive, vindictive, adolescent in my speech, and it's caused hurt feelings. Breathing out, ease, clarity, and peace. May all the suffering of all living beings ripen upon me. By the power of the Bodhisattva's virtue and aspirations, may all beings experience happiness. We breathe in all of that awareness of misery that's happening in people all over the place right now. We can fearlessly take this on. And on the exhalation, send out a wish for people's happiness, their ease, their comfort, their safety. At the very heart of wise speech is karma, our actions. And what we are endeavoring to do with a full heart is to find ways to use words that encourage and nurture rather than words that brutalize, diminish, distort, and hurt. The action of your words is a powerful thing. It can be a weapon or an instrument of peace. You decide. And we have this wonderful monk as a guide. Breathing in an awareness that people suffer because of words and unskillful speech. Breathing out ease, peace, understanding, presence. Breathing in. Breathing out. Okay. And we're going to continue this conversation of wise speech. Lo has posted a link in the chat where you can find our practices Monday through Friday. This Sunday is a Sate Seva Sunday. So we meet for a 90-minute practice from 11 to 12:30, and we're going to continue our conversation on the mindfulness practice of ambivalence. And ambivalence is all about learning how to take a break when we're starting to feel apathetic. So people often confuse ambivalence with apathy, but they are not the same. So we'll continue that beautiful conversation. Please remember that these sessions are recorded. They are offered freely so that you can use them and refer back to them, and may they be of support and service to your practice. Please share them and spread the word of how we are continuing to reimagine how we talk about recovery and support, how we engage with recovery and support, how we mature in recovery and support. So check all that out on the website. Check out all of our tokens of mindfulness. These are wonderful ways to support this community and the work that we do here. And I think I'll end it there. So I'll have Lo turn on the recording if she hasn't done so already. And what I'd like to share with you today is just a little bit of homework as you think about wise speech. One of our Sangha members said very wisely that sometimes the message can come a little bluntly, can come a little directly. And I'm going to share a little bit of a blunt message that came by way of Venerable Tubton Children up at Sravasti Abbey. And this was a Dharma talk that I was able to listen to many, many years ago. And she talked about believing the saboteur, believing the messages that I'm worthless, I'm such a loser, I'm so terrible, I'm, just all of that self-talk. And the thing that she said that I thought was like, yow, so blunt, was she looked out at the audience and she said, if you continue to invest in that self-talk, it's a lazy way to practice. Lazy. Oh, that, for me as like a doer, I'm like, I'm not lazy, but what she was talking about was that we're here for ourselves and for one another. And if we're lazy, if we are believing these distortions and these stories, and if we're denying ourselves any curiosity about them, they serve to depress us. They serve to suck our energy. They serve to take away our service to others and to the earth and to all living beings. And that is a lazy way to interact with the miracle of life. And so this is why in our practice in the Spokane Sangha, I often use that instrument of peace of, wow, would you look at that? I love that one, because the minute I start telling myself a story, and I have a very strong, mean inner critic who is so insistent that I quit and I just give up. And I just have to meet that voice every single time with, wow, would you look at that? Listen to you. Now, get out of my way because I have things to do, right? Get out of my way. I got things to do. So, the way you talk to your plants, friends, the way you talk to your pets, the way you talk to the air, it matters. So, I'd like to end our practice today with Shantideva's words. And I'd like to invite you to come into this space of Shantideva. You know, Shantideva lived from 687 to 763. 687 to 763. And we are still talking about his wisdom today. One of the things he encouraged was to imagine at the level of the heart space this swirling radiant light, but know that it's also coming from your back in places that you can't see. So that swirling radiant light is radiating out in front of you and behind you. It's also radiating from the crown of your head and from the bottoms of your feet. You are the same stuff of stars. We know the science of that. We are the evolutionary magic of dying stars. We are only radiant, energetic beings. Shantideva is encouraging us to live that way and put it out there to shine that light in the corners of darkness. For as long as space exists, and for as long as living beings remain in samsara, remain in the realm of confusion, misery, discomfort, may I abide among them. We do. We walk among all of that misery every day. May I abide among them to dispel their suffering. Join me in this endeavor. And let's change the world. But let's begin with ourselves. Because, friends, all of us, each of us, exactly as we are, we matter. We are a miracle and part of the heartbeat of this life. Go into your day and feel blessed. We'll see you next time. Namaste.